Good evening, and welcome back to the Midnight Fire. Pull up a chair, dim the lights, and lean in close. Tonight, we're venturing into a place where the laws of physics and the very fabric of reality seem to unravel. We are talking about a story that has whispered its way through the darkest corners of the internet for years, a digital urban legend that feels just a little too real. Tonight, we investigate room 404, the floor with no exit. Our story begins with Alex, a freelance programmer who lived a life dictated by deadlines and fueled by lukewarm coffee. To save money, Alex rented a room in one of those old, slightly dilapidated apartment buildings on the edge of the city. The kind with rattling pipes and a strange, persistent smell of dust and something vaguely sweet in the hallways. It was cheap, it was quiet, and on the fourth floor, it had a decent view of the city lights. His apartment was number 403. For the first few months, life was predictably mundane. The most excitement he had was chasing a mouse out of his kitchen. His neighbors were quiet, almost reclusive. He rarely saw anyone, save for the occasional glimpse of an elderly woman from 401 watering her plants, or the hurried footsteps of the student in 402 rushing to class. The fourth floor had four apartments, 401, 402, 403, and, well, that's where things get strange. There was number 404. The numbering went straight from 403 to the stairwell at the end of the hall. Alex noticed it once, shrugged, and figured it was just a quirky design flaw of an old building. Many cultures are superstitious about the number 4, after all. He didn't give it a second thought. But then, the noises started. It was late one Tuesday night, around 3 a.m. Alex was debugging a stubborn piece of code when he heard it. A faint, rhythmic scraping sound. It seemed to be coming from the wall. His desk was pushed against the wall that should have been shared with the stairwell. He paused, listening. Scrape. Pause. Scrape. It sounded like someone dragging heavy furniture across a wooden floor. But there was no room there. He got up, pressed his ear to the cold plaster. The sound was clearer now, undeniable. It was definitely coming from the other side of that wall. He brushed it off as the building's old pipes, or maybe sounds traveling from a different floor in a weird way. He put on his headphones and got back to work. The next night, it happened again. Same time, same sound. Scrape. Pause. Scrape. This time, it was accompanied by a low, muffled murmur, like a television playing in another room. Alex was more unnerved now. He walked out into the hallway. It was silent, empty, and dimly lit by the single flickering bulb overhead. The wall next to his apartment, where 404 should have been, was a solid and broken stretch of beige-painted plaster. There was no door, no seams, nothing. He knocked on it. A solid, dull thud echoed back, nothing. Confused and a little spooked, he went back inside. The following week, the phenomena escalated. It wasn't just scraping anymore. He started hearing what sounded like faint music, an old-fashioned waltz, tinny and distant. Sometimes, he'd catch the scent of perfume in the hallway, a heavy, floral scent like old roses, strongest right near that blank wall. His curiosity was morphing into a gnawing obsession. He started researching the building's history, digging through city archives online. The building was constructed in the 1920s, but records were spotty. He found floor plans, but they were old and difficult to read. On the original blueprint for the fourth floor, there it was, clear as day, a small, one-bedroom apartment labeled Unit 404. So, did asterisk exist? What happened to it? Why was it sealed off? He asked his landlord, a gruff, dismissive man who just grunted and said the building had always been like that. He tried asking his neighbors. The student in 402 just looked at him blankly and said he never noticed. The elderly woman from 401, however, had a different reaction. When Alex mentioned the noises from the space next to his apartment, her friendly demeanor vanished. Her eyes widened, and she quickly shushed him, pulling him away from her open door. "Don't talk about that," she whispered, her voice trembling. "Some doors are closed for a reason." You don't want to know what's behind that wall. Just ignore it. For your own good. She then shut her door, leaving a terrified and utterly bewildered Alex alone in the hall. Her warning did the opposite of what she intended. Alex was now consumed by the mystery of room 404. He started recording the sounds, capturing the scraping, the music, and even what sounded, on one particularly clear night, like a woman softly crying. He bought a cheap endoscopic camera online, the kind plumbers use. His plan was to drill a small, discreet hole through the wall and finally see what was inside. One night, armed with a drill and a racing heart, he chose a spot behind a bookshelf in his apartment. The drill whined, biting into the plaster. It went through the drywall easily, and then it hit something hard outward. He pushed harder, and the drill broke through. A puff of stale, musty air puffed out, smelling of decay and old flowers. His hands shaking, he threaded the flexible camera into the hole. The small screen on his phone, connected to the camera, flickered to life. The view was dark and grainy. He switched on the camera's tiny LED. The light cut through the blackness, revealing a room. It was furnished, but in a style from decades ago. A heavy mahogany bed, a vanity with a tarnished silver mirror, a wardrobe with its door slightly ajar. Dust lay thick on every surface, like a layer of gray snow. But the room wasn't empty. In the center, a woman was sitting in a rocking chair, her back to the camera. She wore a faded floral dress, and her long, dark hair was tied in a bun. She was rocking slowly, rhythmically, in perfect time with the scraping sound he'd been hearing. The sound was the wooden runners of her chair scraping against the bare floorboards. Alex's blood ran cold. This was impossible. The room was sealed. How was she in there? Was she a ghost? A squatter who had found some secret way in. He maneuvered the camera, trying to get a look at her face. As he did, the rocking stopped. Complete silence. His heart hammered against his ribs. Slowly and naturally, her head began to turn. It rotated farther than a human neck should, 180 degrees, until her face was looking directly into the camera's lens. Her face, it was a pale, smooth mask, with no eyes, no nose, no mouth. Just a blank expanse of skin. Alex screamed and scrambled backward, ripping the camera out of the wall. He fell over his chair, his mind reeling. What had he just seen? He sat there on the floor, shaking, for what felt like hours. Then, a new sound began. A soft, gentle tapping. It was coming from his apartment door. Tap. He froze, barely breathing. The tapping stopped. Then, a piece of paper slid under his door. With a hand that felt like it belonged to someone else, Alex crawled over and picked it up. It was a single, folded piece of old, yellowed stationery. He unfolded it. Written in elegant, cursive handwriting were the words, "You saw." He didn't sleep that night. The next morning, he packed a single bag, left everything else behind, and fled the apartment. He didn't tell the landlord. He didn't say goodbye to his neighbors. He just ran. He stayed with a friend for a week, haunted by the image of the faceless woman. When he finally mustered the courage to go back and get the rest of his things, he found the building surrounded by police tape. An ambulance was parked out front. He asked an officer what happened. The officer told him they were investigating a bizarre occurrence. The entire fourth floor of the building had vanished. Where the stairs to the fourth floor should have been, there was now just a solid brick wall. The third floor ceiling was now the roof. It was as if the fourth floor had been erased from existence. Records of its tenants, including Alex, were gone from the landlord's books. No one in the building remembered a fourth floor ever being there. Alex never went back. He moved to a different city, trying to leave the memory of room 404 behind. But some nights, when the world is quiet and he's alone, he swears he can still hear it. A faint, rhythmic scraping sound, coming from just beyond the walls of his perception. A reminder of the floor that existed, and then didn't. A reminder of the woman with no face, who now knew his. And a chilling question remains: if the entire floor vanished, was he the only one who escaped? Or was he, perhaps, never really there at all? Thank you for joining me in the darkness. We'll be back next time with another story to chill your bones. Until then, stay safe, and be careful what doors you try to open. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications, so you don't miss our next descent into the shadows. Good night.